Good evening, residents. Come and take a seat at our table and prepare yourself for what we are about to endure. My name is Timothy, and I'm joined by my friend Sam. And this is a show where we discuss our unnatural love for all things horror and unsettling. So, welcome to Nightmare Nobodies. Today, we are talking about Paranormal Activity. Sam.
Yes.
How are you?
I have my coffee. So I'm good. How are you? What are you drinking?
About the same. Coffee.
What kind of coffee? Like, are you a black coffee or coffee and sugar, cream and sugar kind of guy?
I am definitely a coffee and coffee kind of guy. No, it's when I'm at home, it's milk and cream and everything. But when I'm out, usually it's like black coffee at like a diner. You know, if I'm having breakfast, it's black coffee.
Why do guys love diner coffee so much?
Because they make it strong. Coffee tastes better when you don't make it. I don't know. It's.
I feel like it's
like a
burned
sandwich.
though.
No way.
It has like this like gross burnt taste, not like not like campfire. I do like campfire coffee, which I understand makes no sense. They're both burnt, but there's something about it. Are you
talking about Denny's coffee?
No, I haven't been to Denny's since my 20s.
Because our VFW here, the Post, it makes some of the best coffee for breakfast.
Okay.
Anyways, with that slight tangent over, and now that we've greeted each other as such, so today we're talking about Paranormal Activity. I'm very excited about this. I'd seen this prior to watching the movie for this episode. Have you seen it before this?
Oh yeah, I saw it when it came out. It was one of those few ones that I went to the theaters for.
I'm a little jealous about that. I don't think I watched it until it came out on on Netflix DVD.
It is.
Which let's have a moment of silence for the Netflix DVD services, which is ending.
I don't think I did. I've done those, and I don't want to admit how long it's been. I didn't do their DVD service very often. I was more of a go to Blockbusters and find whatever's in the $5 rack kind of gal.
That's a mood.
But
no, I get it. When I was in high school, the DVD service was like the only way to get DVDs where I lived. We didn't have any other video rentals. You know, it's like 2000s. Almost 2010, you know, so it's like streaming was in existence. You know, we barely had Wi-Fi. You know, no free McDonald's times. Wi-Fi yet. Huh?
I said, oh, the simpler days.
So I had to wait until it arrived on DVD. So it was probably sometime in like 2010 when I got to see Paranormal Activity. And I didn't, you know, we lived in Fargo, so I didn't get to see it in theaters. I didn't have a chance to see it in theaters. And I didn't see any real promotions for it either, as far as I know, other than like the TV trailers that they, you know, played on like everywhere.
Yeah, because this came out in what, like 2009?
Well, you know,
or was it
2000? There's a couple of dates. The original movie came out in 2007 for a film festival. And then in 2009, Steven Spielberg wanted to create a director's cut of this movie and added in a different ending. And so Steven Spielberg is typically held responsible, from what I've seen, for giving this movie the theatrical release that you had seen. So,
okay.
there are two dates, because there is an original version and there is the theatrical version. And then later on, when there was a DVD release, that in itself is also another version.
Yeah, because there are 3 endings.
There are 3 endings.
Later on, we'll discuss which one we prefer.
Yeah.
Because you did watch all 3 endings, right?
I have. Yeah, I have seen all of them now. So quickly, before we spoil too much of this movie, let's give you the quick synopsis of this.
Oh, yes. Tim with his trucker voice.
I grabbed this one from IMDb. So sometimes I'll try and switch it up from either Google or IMDb, but I'll always make sure I'll credit whoever I take this from. After a young middle-class couple moves into a suburban starter tract house, they become increasingly disturbed by a presence that may or may not be somehow demonic, but is certainly most active in the middle of the night, especially when they sleep. Or try to.
So that's the part that like got me in theaters. I was like, I just want to sleep. You don't mess with my sleep. Mm-hmm. Like you don't.
I need to go see why these people aren't sleeping.
Yeah, so I can learn what not to do. Which is apparently be 8 years old living in a particular house and attracted to demons.
I want to know more. I want to know more about this. So before I can tell we're at like the cliff's edge here of throwing ourselves completely into this. So let me introduce our character / cast list.
If you must.
If I must. I must. So this movie was written and directed by Oren Peli. And then there's only a handful of actors in this. It's pretty simple to keep them apart. So we've got Katie Featherston, who played Katie. We got Micah. Nope. I'm sorry. I told myself not to get up either. We've got Mika Sloat. Mark Fredericks, who played the psychic. Amber Armstrong, who played Katie's friend Amber. I don't think she was directly named in the movie, but she was there a couple of times throughout the film. And then we've got Ashley Palmer as Diane. And I find it interesting that the characters share names with the actors, and I wonder if that's fairly common amongst other found footage movies like Paranormal Activity, or if that's just kind of like this movie's spiel.
I feel like they were trying to go the same route as Blair Witch and confuse you and make you think it was like legitimate.
Okay.
Like actually based on a true story. Even though at the very, very, very end of the movie, there is a disclaimer where it basically says Paramount made all this shit up. Nothing's real.
Right. Okay. So I'd watched this movie with my father. And I believe he'd seen this in theaters. I could be wrong, but he's a very avid movie watcher, loves going to theaters, the whole experience. And I also believe he'd seen Blair Witch, and he believed, and when he had seen them, he had believed that both of these movies were real.
That was the point.
Yeah, so he's one of those types of people, and so it was kind of fun watching him and sort of interviewing him about his thoughts and how he felt watching this movie.
I feel like we should have your dad on the podcast at some point.
At some point, I think so. Maybe. But he, I think because the actors' names were the same as the characters' names, I think that kind of, helped him buy into this, that this was real. I personally didn't think that this movie was real when I saw it. But I mean, like I'd said earlier, it was more of we had rented this for a Friday night it was me, my twin, and my mother who had watched the movie, and my twin and my mother had absolutely ruined the ending of the movie for me. But this second watch through, I remember I I was afraid at the same. I remember my heart rate kind of kicking up and being a little bit of afraid during the same parts that I was afraid originally through my first watch through, which was very exciting and interesting. So it's been like 13 years since I'd seen this.
Okay.
So
I thought they held the tension really well in this movie.
oh boy,
I did not get scared at any point. It could be because I had like just constant anger at the character Mika. I could not stand him. I remember the first time I watched it, there were some things that freaked me out, but again, my anger at that character kind of overshadowed it. And the whole time I was like, please tell me he dies. Please tell me the demon kills him. And then you see the scene where, you know, the picture frame, the glass is shattered or whatever. And he's like, why is only my face scratched? And you're like, because you're going to die. That was the point where I was like, all right, I will watch this until the end because it will be satisfying. That man is going to die. For the record, that's the only time. Horror movies are the only time that I'm like, the satisfying resolution in this is your death.
Oh, yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
I am a sane human being for the most part. I definitely do not condone murder of any kind. Murder. However, I wanted this fictional character to just die.
So, all right. So then let's kind of jump into the movie a little bit. Because this kind of brings into one of the points I want to bring up. So the movie opens to Mika and Katie kind of having an argument over this camera that he's already hauling around their house.
Right.
And that definitely does not paint him in a good light.
No, he's a frat boy.
So I started, I watched through this watch through. I don't think I hated Mika as much as I did last time. But I definitely kind of sat there like I used to watch my coworkers in absolute confusion, just going, why in God's name are you doing this stupid stuff? Like, there's no reason for you to be doing this. Why are you doing this? Please stop. You're going to hurt yourself.
But I think that obviously we have to have characters do stupid stuff in movies. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, what other way are they going to move the plot along?
Right. Yeah, there's no counterbalance.
But that right there is why it's, to me, is not believable as a true story.
Yeah.
Because if this was a true story, Mika would have been out. Right. He'd have been like, peace. It's 3 years of my life. I want to have another 3. Bye.
I have a note here that made me laugh when I was watching this. It was kind of observing how weird people were acting around having a camera film them at the time. I mean, and granted, yeah, like he's got this big honking, gimbal, like, news reporter camera in his house. But I mean, these days people make livings off of just IRL streaming, and it's
crazy how much it's changed in like 13 years.
It's nuts. Like I was saying earlier, we didn't even have free McDonald's Wi-Fi when I was in high school. Like not to be redundant, but like that's a big thing.
I just love that you use not just free Wi-Fi at businesses, which is basically what it is. It's free McDonald's Wi-Fi.
Anyways,
but to your point, imagine the battery life, like how many different camera batteries he had to have, storage space, not just on his like memory cards for the camera, but also
tapes.
What
format? What's the format?
What's the storage capacity on that laptop that he has it hooked up to?
Oh my God.
Because if I understand correctly,
20 gigs.
That's where it was storing. It was automatically uploading to the laptop. Super high tech for then. But like
20 gigs.
Seriously, how
Money's
many
on
like external hard drives did he have? Where did he have the space for this? Was that what one of the guest rooms was for? Just all the storage of this? This was what, 21 days worth of footage?
Right? And it's like 8 hours at a time, plus whatever he's doing during the day.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah. Our new segment on Nightmare Nobodies, the logistics of filming your horror.
Found footage segments only.
Yeah. It's just going to be segments about how much data and like information was stored during these movies.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then the EMF, like he had that going on there too.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah.
Or not EMF, EVP.
Data.
EVP.
Yeah.
Also, with just a little regular old microphone, like for real.
Yes, Mr. Demon, how did you feel about this?
Insert growl here.
So during this scene where I had made this note of it being weird, where, you know, how awkward these two were just doing normal activities in front of a camera, I have a note because I didn't remember my first time watching it. I just remembered I liked this movie. Mika is holding a knife, and he kind of turns to the camera and does
in the kitchen.
Yeah, in the kitchen, and he's kind of doing this jabbing thing, or like was it a slice? It was a slice kind of thing, and I made a note of it, and I was like, either this is gonna foretell how someone's gonna die, particularly him, or he's gonna kill someone.
But he's not the one that the demon is after.
I literally forgot. No, I went into this movie absolutely blind. I didn't read any of the synopsis. I didn't go into anything. I just remembered that this was a movie about a haunting or someone getting possessed or something. And I just wanted to rewatch it. So I forgot that Mika was the one that was the target of the attacks and not the one that was being possessed, so to speak. DreamWorks reshot this whole movie, is what Amazon was telling me through the X-ray tidbits.
So based on the original ending,
yeah,
I think that was a good call.
Mm-hmm.
Is if the whole movie was paced like the original ending, good God. Also,
let's explain.
We'll talk about
ending.
That later.
Okay, we'll talk about the endings later, but it was very... Yeah, I remember watching it. It was the longest segment of the 3 endings. And
it was like almost 7 minutes long.
Yeah, it was almost 7 minutes. And the other ones only took about 3.5, 4 minutes to end. And it was... I remember thinking to myself going, this is literally just sped up footage at this point.
Yeah. It's like 4 minutes of sped up footage.
Oh my gosh. So the two, they're in the kitchen, they're doing stuff. I note that they have a very good relationship, despite their initial argument about the camera. You know, she obviously is like a little awkward and a little hesitant to be in front of a camera, but otherwise they obviously love each other. They're flirting, you know, I'm trying to forgive me for pausing so long. I was trying to come up with a PG friendly way of saying this, but they're
very touchy feely.
They obviously really care a lot about each other, and they have a very solid relationship that doesn't really seem like it's going to be an at risk anytime soon without external forces. And
I like that because every possession movie, they have to set up the foundation of the relationship or people's personalities. I like that they did it quickly. They didn't spend a great deal amount of time on there. However,
No.
in the background, in the living room, you can see that the
Uh-huh.
TV's on. And I don't know
Yeah.
what's playing.
No.
But later on, at the end of the scene, after the ice maker incident,
Right?
Micah goes back to the counter. It's the same exact scene on the TV in the background.
Gosh dang it. They must have just
Random,
thrown a
I know.
DVD in.
It just made me laugh.
That's funny. That's very funny, though. Yeah, so we move through this introduction part of the movie fairly quickly, which I really, really like. This movie is like unrelenting in its process, and I kind of appreciate that in terms of found footage, because I don't like found footage movies that take its sweet little time, dragging its feet, finding its way into the trouble.
Yeah.
We come in and Micah is talking about how he got these cameras to document this whatever's going on at night, whether it be intruders or what, we don't know yet. We just know that there's stuff going on and it's going to catch anything that's weird stuff. And then immediately we're in the first night. So it is night number 1, September 18th, 2006.
Really quick, just before, when they're getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
And Micah, I think it's the second time he brings up extracurriculars. I almost started a counter for how many times he brought up the use of that camera for extracurriculars.
Yeah. And, that fades fairly quickly, surprisingly. It's kind of annoying within like the first half hour, but it moves on fairly quickly from that. But yeah, he was definitely like, she kept saying no, and I'm like, all right, homie, just back off. She said no. I know you're being cute, but
are you really being cute? Because it just seems like you're being pushy at this point.
Sorry, I know you think you're being cute. There you go. Also, I think you think that they're monsters for sleeping with just sheets on. They live in San Diego.
So?
And when I lived in San Diego, I used to just sleep with sheets on because it's so hot.
No. That house clearly had AC in it.
Mika and Katie are sound asleep in bed. I keep doing this. I'm so sorry. At 2 a.m., the first real and not fake out event happens, because the ice machine was a fake out earlier. But this first event was kind of low key. Just some noise, keys been thrown, just a little temper tantrum, nothing much.
I'm here.
Hi.
In case you didn't feel me breathing on you in your sleep or saying your name. Hi.
The next morning, Katie has announced to Mika that she has called a psychic, and Mika is just kind of like, he's so not taking this seriously, to the point where he plays a piano version.
His level of dismissiveness and gaslighting throughout was like, I was just like,
it was
I'm
off
glad
the
you
charts. He plays a piano version of Torgo's theme from Manos: The Hands of Fate.
I have no idea what that is.
He's sitting there. He's like, oh, well, maybe he'll feel way more at home with this. And Manos: The Hands of Fate is a infamously bad movie. I've watched it far too many times for my own sanity's sake.
You love infamously bad movies.
I do. I love how awful this movie is. But Torgo's theme is the theme song played for the questionably monstrous servant of the master, who might be a demon, is definitely evil, has a harem of wives. Anyway,
I love the
know.
question there.
Yeah, I don't know what the movie's about. I don't know what's going on there, but Torgo's big need monster servant of the master, and the original version was quite eerie because it's not very good. But this piano version was quite nice, and I couldn't help but giggle at it because I don't think it has any connection other than it's a funny giggle, hee reference that I definitely appreciated.
You were probably one of 24 people that got the reference.
Indeed. And I like it that way.
But that's also why I love our conversations, is because you see like the most random things that I'm like, I've no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we both have different scopes on different parts of this whole thing. But as Mika is kind of antagonizing Katie about calling a psychic, the thought suddenly occurred to me with all the camera works and all of his editing equipment and stuff, and his like two computer monitors to set up, and like all of his recording. I was wondering that if this wasn't a movie about Mika documenting the slow degradation and haunting possession of Katie. Not in terms of like The Exorcist, as we saw like Reagan slowly turn into like this shell of a person that she was.
So, but he didn't know at that time.
No, and that's it was a neat thought at the time.
And he also has all of that stuff downstairs because he's a day trader.
Right. But that was just my initial theory upon rewatching it. The psychic, he arrives, Dr. Fredericks. He arrives and he absolutely just farts into a fan and does a whole lot of nothing. He says that there's not ghosts there. Huh?
He gives the audience a chance to see Micah in his full butt-headedness.
Mika, yeah.
Mika.
Yeah, no, and it was I think Dr. Fredericks sat in as a device to kind of tell us she's haunted by, there is something haunting this place, but it's not a ghost.
And it's her. It's not haunting the house, it's haunting her.
And then that interview kind of tunes the audience into going, oh, this is what we're dealing with. I see. And it kind of gets you to thinking about like, okay, is this the point where we find out that Mika hadn't previously known about Katie's haunting?
Yes. This is the point where he's basically like, huh?
I didn't transfer those notes into the typed version for some reason. Yeah, so this was really interesting to me because I immediately kind of had this knee-jerk anger reaction to Katie when I found out that she hadn't told him.
Okay, fair. But let me ask you, how do you tell someone, regardless of how close you are to them, oh, by the way, I think I'm being haunted by something?
I would tell them. I would be like, babe, listen, I know we've been dating for a couple of years now, but there's something really important I got to tell you. But
she doesn't even know if it's accurate. Like, is it all coincidental?
She was 8.
But it's been happening sporadically since she was 8. So what if it hadn't happened the entire time they were dating? And she's like, oh, good. It died.
I would have at least told him about the house burning down and like all the weird stuff.
Okay,
like,
so the fact that he didn't know the house burned down, that I agree with. I find that strange. But you can also tell him my childhood house burned down when I was 12 without saying, because it was a ghost.
No, I mean, like, right. But it's like, he didn't even know that her house burned down, man.
I don't know. I don't like him. So, Team Katie.
Oh, my God. Welcome to our first episode of Killer Debate. Jesus. So we're skipping right to night 3 in September 20th. There's noises, but no one wakes up. No one wakes up this night either. There's some noises. The door closes and then opens back up. Katie still manages to stay asleep. So does Mika. I found out that the door closing and opening back up is actually called door games.
Is that like Ding Dong Ditch, but for dead people?
For demons, yeah. I think that's the technical term. I think that was just a term used for this situation, and I like that. Like, door games. In the morning, Mika's very excited about last night's events, and then he goes around provoking the demon.
Yeah. Could he be more of a turd burglar in that moment?
Right? And then in bed, they're getting ready for bed. He's in bed, actively in bed. And homie is just sitting there reading a book about demons. Like, oh yeah, let me just unwind.
But he doesn't want to call a demonologist.
No, right?
We kind of glossed over that. He basically gaslit Katie and told her she was making a big deal out of nothing and did not want her to take up or to give Dr. Avery's a call at the psychic's recommendation, by the way.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. He wants to get more footage.
Yeah, because he wants to try and make money off of it. At this point, I think he's just trying to make money off of her distress.
Grifter. Yeah. Night 5, 2:54. Katie is finally startled awake by something. Lots of noise, but she doesn't want to go and initiate an investigation. And the next day, you could tell she's absolutely not having a good time with any of this at all. And then listening back to the recording from the night before, Mika hears growling, which in the director's cut of the movie, they redubbed a lot of the sounds and added in compared to the theatrical version. So, for instance, the theatrical version had a lot more loud noises, but in the director's cut, there was just more noises, more noises that are kind of at a better volume for home consumption, and there are more shadows added in to the director's cut than there was in the original theatrical version.
Did you notice that every night right before something happens, there's a low hum and it builds until whatever happens? The
climax of whatever happens, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, it's a neat mechanism, honestly, because it kind of, by the end of it, it kind of dog whistle trains you into, kind of, I don't know what words I was going to try and use there. It's just a deep inhale of nerves. They brought up Ouija boards a couple of times. I glossed over that earlier. Mika wanted to use... Huh?
Go ahead.
Mika wanted to use a Ouija board to try and communicate with the demon, and everyone, including Dr. Fredericks, I believe, unanimously agreed that that was a bad idea and they should not do that.
Yes. Can we have a possession movie where Ouija boards are not brought up?
No.
Can it not be a mechanism in a possession movie?
Yeah,
please, for the love of God.
It's the only way we can talk to them. Can you just go over? Are you possessed? Yes. What's your name? Pazuzu. Thank you. There, done, easy.
Can you please go away? No. Dang.
No. So I understand that, like, for the ease of the movie, they probably wanted a Ouija board to use as some sort of vehicle for discussion, or just as like a prop for the demon to throw around. But it makes me laugh how many.
Apparently,
it's just funny. It makes me laugh because it's like everyone keeps telling you this is a bad idea. Why are you doing it? Why are you thinking about it? Like, don't.
Because
I know you want
he's
to talk
Mika
to
and
the
he
thing.
does what he wants.
Yeah, Mika does what he wants. Let's see. Right. I have a note here that just says, Mika does his best to rile everyone up today. Antagonistic. And I think that's the greatest summary of Mika's activities during the movie.
Yep.
I didn't hate Mika. I definitely thought he was a little bastard. For just
I couldn't
trying
stand him.
to pick on everyone, but I kind of liked him better than Katie. Because Katie just kept flip-flopping back and forth on, help me, don't help me, help me, don't help me.
So I wonder if that was...
The demon?
Because that starts to happen the more the activity is stirred up.
Right.
Which means the more she gets possessed.
Yeah. And this was a question that had come up a couple of times towards the end of the film was, how long was Katie fronting for the demon? How long had she been defending the demon? Or the demon making her defend it, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was constantly a question that was kind of rolling back and forth in my mind. And I don't know if there's like a precise point. Also, can we just bring up real quick that there wasn't a script for this movie? They were just kind of like, for the original version, there wasn't a script. There was like, they were just giving guidelines on what to do in each situation. And this was filmed in a week with $15,000. So a lot of this stuff like it's kind of goofy and it doesn't make sense, but it works very well, I think.
You want to talk about low budget movie?
Great. So we're on to night 13. It's once again 3 a.m. It's noisy. It wakes up both of them. They were about to just dismiss it and go back to bed. When there's a screech, I don't know what else to call it, a screech and a loud bang.
Kind of sounded like a car crash.
It did. That's what I was thinking too just now. I was replaying the noise in my head. I'm like, it's just a car crash noise. There's no other thing in here. But I guess the loud noise draws them into wanting to go and investigate what's going on. And I don't understand. This is like the one part where I really laughed at the movie was when Mika gets out of bed. I don't know why he got out of bed like that though. It's so goofy. He like crawls over the bed, like not getting out and walking around. He just crawls over all awkward and like trips up and stuff.
I don't recall that. I'm like racking my brain. I'm like, I didn't pay that much attention to it. Probably because I was screaming at them. Why? Why are you investigating? This is how you die.
Probably that, but I was so intent on like, because I was so interested in watching Mika because he was so busy watching Katie and I wanted to know what was going on with Mika, you know? And so I watched
really the
him
one that's possessed?
Lot. No, I mean, I of course I knew he was the sheep in the lion's pen, you know? But I wanted to see what happens.
And he hated that.
He did. He hated every moment of it.
To be fair, human nature, but like he actually thought he could like best at this point they know it's a demon. So he really thought he could best a demon. The cojones.
So the next morning, this is the point in time, night 13. Katie's no longer sleeping. She's not happy. And so Mika is often by himself doing like random shenanigans around the house, you know, because he doesn't have a job. He's a day trader, so he could just stay at home and be a dork.
Speaking of him being a day trader, did you see that exceptionally long coin net placement?
No.
When he was messing with the camera, I think it was like the second night or something. It was before the keys. And he was trying to get the camera off the stand. And you're like staring at his chest and the shirt says coin net. I'm like,
oh yeah, his coin net shirt.
That he sleeps in every night or almost every night for like 21 days.
For 21 days? Like, bro, PJs, they last a week and then they go into the wash.
I hope that outfit is super comfy because that's his ghost outfit. I'm just saying. Homeboy now wears that forever.
I've never thought of the word ghost outfit.
Oh, I think about ghost outfits a lot. I'm like, do I want to die in this outfit? No, it's not comfortable enough. That's how I gauge my outfits. How comfortable is it if I die?
I need to have someone use that in like an insult. Anyways.
Challenge accepted.
Moving on from La La Land. Oh yeah, so okay, Mika goes upstairs to do an EVP interview in the bedroom by himself, with a little microphone. It's not really an interview, it's more of him just
antagonizing the demon.
And doing some more professional antagonizing, I guess. He rushes back downstairs after the EVP, and he goes and he gets all excited because, he caught a growl. Not realizing that, that's him.
Yes, that's what you want in response to your questions, is the demon to growl at you.
Right?
You get excited, you don't think, oh crap.
It's the demon equivalent of your mom going, 3? When I get to 1.
This is the moment where you realized he flew around, and now he's about to find out.
Yeah, FAFO. Fooled around and found out. That's the podcast safe version.
Whoops. Look, that phrase without the F word, it's not as impactful.
No, it's not. FAFO also is real good, but definitely not as good as the whole term. The 3 middle names. All right, we are into night 15. It was kind of alarming to me the first time I watched, like when I rewatched this. I didn't realize that the nights had jumped so much, and I thought I literally missed something. Like I thought I smoked too big of a bowl, and I like missed out and gapped out on like 4 nights or something. I was like, what the balls is happening? Why are we on night 13? Oh, no, they just made it like this. Because again, we're going back to that thing we talked about in the beginning, where this movie really just kind of, it has its introductions and it just goes.
Yeah. Which is life, right?
Right. It is. It really is. And it's nuts. I love the pace of this movie. I do. I think it's great. We are on night 15. Once again, Katie is awake. She goes and does the beginnings of her new standard of standing at the foot of the bed. And the first time she does that, and time is just speeding along, it was honestly giving me flashbacks to playing The Sims.
Because of the movement?
Because of this like standing there, and then you like speed up time to try and get them to go to bed, and they just won't go to bed, and they're just standing there staring at bed going. Oh, this is that whole outside scene. Okay, so I'm not going to do a play-by-play by this, because this is like one of those things where it actually kind of spooked me a little bit. So Katie, after staring at her bed until about 3:30, she goes downstairs, and Mika wakes up, realizes Katie is gone, and then goes off to look for her, bringing the camera with, of course. And he's going around the living rooms and downstairs. He can't find her anywhere there, so he goes and he sees that the patio door is open. And as he's panning outside and he's moving the curtains aside, there's a palm tree just by like right on the edge of the courtyard cement. But you can't really tell it's a palm tree at first because it's all dark and shadowy because it's the middle of the night and there's no lights on. That palm tree literally made me scream. It was so shadowy and weird looking to me that I was like, huh?
Did you catch that when he finds her on the swing, the first thing she says is "go away"?
Yes. I
only asked because I couldn't hear it, so I have hearing issues. I have closed caption on everything, so when it's quiet, I can't tell if it's quiet because I can't hear it, or it's like meant to be.
It sounded like she had said it like facing away from the camera and a little bit away is like, go away. You know?
But the question is was that her?
No, absolutely
Or was
not.
that
It couldn't
whatever
have
is
been her.
possessing her?
Well, I mean, because she kept recoiling and like pulling away and like slapping at Mika's hands, you know? And it's like, Katie doesn't do that.
Yeah.
As we talked about earlier, Katie and Mika had such a great relationship. They had a really solid relationship. They sat there and they communicated well, and they, you know, were obviously very familiar and intimate with each other just by how the two interacted and would touch each other in non-romantic ways even.
Right.
But she was absolutely not having any of it. She's pissed. She is absolutely mad at him. And then he tries to get her in. She's saying, no, I don't want to go in. And then he's like, well, fine, I'll get you a blanket. And I'll see how you like that. And, you know, he's still lugging his damn camera around with him. He goes into the living room, upstairs bedroom, their bedroom, TV turns on and the door slams? Or is it just a TV?
There's a loud bang and the TV turns on.
Yeah, okay. And then he goes up there to investigate, and then he turns back to go downstairs, and Katie's there, and she's like, she's all sleepy. She's like, why are you doing this? Stop this. And she's like mad that he woke her up.
So you forgot one thing that made me laugh.
Uh-oh.
He hears this and he's still downstairs in the living room, and you can clearly see up into the room. Like he panned the camera. We're looking at the room and he yells for her to come inside. Where the sound, where the activity is happening. He's like, Katie, come inside.
Come here where the danger
Run
is.
outside to her.
No, because that
Don't
would be
come
showing
to
weakness.
the sound.
No,
Run
he
away.
wants her to come to him because he's tough and strong. He's gonna fight this.
This invisible thing.
This demon.
That he said earlier in the movie does evil basically for fun. Just 'cause.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. Okay, dude. You make all the sense in the world.
Mika plays the footage back for Katie the next day just to show her how much of an ass she was being. She's just like, I've still got no clue, and this really freaks her out.
And instead of being like, oh my gosh, you don't remember this, he's like, you're crazy.
Yeah, his anger is slowly getting ticked up as the days go by now, too. He's starting to get really fed up, but he's still doing his best to try and catalog everything like the ding-dong that he is.
He said, look at you, just standing there watching me sleep like a total weirdo. You don't remember that?
I didn't write down that, no.
I have in quotes, like a total weirdo.
I made a note that was just talking about how much they've changed, how angry he is, and how agitated, and blah blah blah.
In parentheses, next to like a total weirdo, my notes say, Micah, my dude, I know you're scared, but no need to turn into a total turd burglar here.
Agreed. And I think this is the first time an exorcism is mentioned.
Was it? I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's mentioned like twice throughout the whole film, which is weird. You figured it'd be more. I don't know if it's that date, the same day, or another day, but one evening, 7:30 p.m., they're going out for a date. Mika has got his hands on a Ouija board. And it's not like the typical Ouija board either. It's like cardboard, but it looks like he bought it from like a Hot Topic, right? It's all like edgy, black and red. It looked like someone just taped it on top of a Monopoly playboard to me.
But equally, remember, he borrowed it. Because in the earlier scene, he told her, I promise I won't buy a Ouija board.
Right. Yeah. No buying of Ouija boards happened here, but he borrowed it. Where did he borrow it from? That's all I want to know.
Did he borrow it from the store?
A 5-finger borrow? So he's setting up this Ouija board. They're trying to go out for a date. Katie blows up at him when she sees that he's got a Ouija board. And he's like, but I didn't buy it. I borrowed it. And then she's just like, we're leaving. And then when they leave, shenanigans start happening with the Ouija board. An ethereal wind starts to blow.
Yeah.
Which I never understood the ethereal wind of horror movies, but it's there.
Seems like a lot of wasted energy.
Yeah, right? Like, stop blowing stuff around, girl. Just channel it into more constructive ways. You'll be all right.
Like setting Ouija boards on fire.
Yeah, like, what does the Ouija board spell? Do we know?
Diane. We
okay.
later find out that it spells.
I kind of got lost in the middle of all that. With the Ouija board and stuff. And
the Ouija board catching fire supports that the demon is the one that set the house on fire when she was a child.
Oh, that's what that meant. To me,
like, again, anyway, that's what that supports to me.
Honestly, I thought it was just a flex that the demon was doing. Like, look at me.
Also, how did the Ouija board catch fire? Only in these specific spots. Go out quickly and not catch the wooden table it is sitting on fire.
Fire paste.
So did the demon learn how to control its fire better in the last 13-ish years? Like, has its ability of fire control just like are we playing an RPG and they leveled up?
What is
like? I have questions.
What is that that online resource that will, like, you can sign up for it and it's just like other normal people teaching you how to do things?
Is there a demon version of this?
Yeah, is that
there
the
one
demon
like
version?
This in the spirit world?
Let me teach you how to channel your coldness to make people feel cold while you're haunting them.
And then the demon waits for the fire to go out, cool off, and then is like, I'm going to be a toddler, and just knocks it off the table. It's like a toddler hissy fit. I need sleep too.
Why don't they care about me? So, Katie and Mika get home from their date. Obviously, I don't think it was a very good date. It must not have been a very good date if they come home and Katie immediately just flips her shit and starts cussing out Mika.
Or is this the possession taking stronger hold?
Or is she like back home and then the demon gets its hold back on her?
Well, they've established in the timeline that this demon follows her, which is another thing. So the demon decided to stay home. He didn't want to go on a date.
Gave him a night. Privacy. In her fury, though, in Katie's fury, she demands of Mika that there are no more cameras. And she is blaming the cameras stupidly on the events getting worse and not Mika being an absolute dipshit.
Turd burglar.
Right? At 1:25 a.m., because obviously they've been up all night fighting. And this is like where we see, like, this is probably the halfway point where, like, this is where you can really catalog. This is where their relationship has kind of.
This is where the possession has completely taken hold of her.
Yeah. Like, they are, as Dr. Frederick had said earlier, like, this thing feeds off of negative energy. And what have they been doing nonstop? Bickering. Mika has to do a camera use disclaimer in front of the camera, just basically rereading things that Katie told him to do, which doesn't last very long, I guess. Before they go to bed, Mika wants to tell Katie about all the shenanigans he caught with the Ouija board and stuff on camera. because, of course, he put the camera in front of the Ouija board before they left. Katie doesn't want to hear any of this. She doesn't want to know about it. She just doesn't.
Nope.
The next day, Mika working on trying to figure out what he's trying to do research, figure out what the Ouija board said, and in this, he's off doing research, but then Katie's friend is over, and Katie was like, "Oh, why don't you stay over here? Why don't you stay at my place?" And Katie makes a point to say that it's me, not the house.
Yeah, which has been well established at this point. Mika has thrown this in her face a couple of times.
But it changes later. She says something different later. But that I do believe that it's the house. Why don't we just go somewhere else? Why don't we go to a hotel?
She doesn't say it's the house, but I think by this point, after what has happened in that house, she knows it's going to follow her, but she can't be in that house anymore.
Right. The demonologist is brought up again after 5 days or something. It's been like a week since Dr. Avery's
been over
had been brought
a week
up.
Since then.
Yeah. This is the night of the talcum powder.
Yes, Mika's grand plan to catch this thing is to put baby powder on the floor.
Yeah, he's not doing anything to catch it. He just wants to catch footage of it. Ha, get it, footage.
Dude, what is that going to do?
It's not going to do anything other than say, "Ooh, footprints."
There it was.
Ooh. It's so stupid. But it's a good device to kind of show us how this thing just comes into the room and doesn't leave.
But it does also show just how stupid he is. It's also a good device to show that Mika's a little moronic.
Yeah, he just wants to catch this thing. He just wants to catch footage of this thing. He doesn't want to get rid of it per se. He just wants footage of it.
Yeah, because he thinks that it can't hurt him.
Grifter's gonna grift.
He doesn't care about Katie.
No. Yeah, so he sets up the talcum powder. Was there any arguments that night? I don't think so.
Yes, they were arguing over how stupid the talcum powder was.
Yeah. Oh, Katie's calling the demonologist the day after this happens. They go to bed. At 3:15, they see the footprint. You can see the footprints go in, or they're heard, and then they are seen going into the bedroom. I don't know I can't remember if lights turned on, but this was when
that was the next night.
The next light. Okay, so the attic, when they went to go investigate more of the upper floor, see what was going on, they discovered that the attic door was open, which they didn't leave open. They don't go up into the attic. Shout out to the scrambled eggs insulation.
I find that attic placement really weird, by the way. I'm not used to that kind of, they did that in Ouija, too. Like, the attic access
closet
is
attics.
In her closet. How do you get in the attic in these places? You can't.
It's a typical California kind of thing, I guess. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's so bizarre, man. I mean, if your house has an attic in the first place in California,
fair.
That's the thing. And it's like, where else are you going to put it? Because usually they've got vaulted ceilings in these houses, so you can't get into an attic through a vaulted ceiling. So, like, the one place that's going to have a guaranteed spot is through the closet. Anyways.
One more reason I will never live in California.
Yeah, it's freaking weird. Mika decides in his absolute wisdom to go up into the closet and check out what's going on. And he wades through the scrambled egg installation and finds an old burnt picture of Katie.
And comes back. What is that called? Fiberglass free.
Oh, yeah. Brother comes back through the attic. No, not even a single shred of fiberglass on him. And I'm like, bruh, you had to go in it. You had to go elbows deep into that attic to get that picture.
And that's clearly old insulation, by the way.
Yeah. Like that disintegrate onto you.
Yeah. The weird things that we don't find believable. We
Right?
find a demon possessing someone to be completely fine. But coming out of an attic with no fiberglass insulation on you, that's just too much.
Nope, too far. So Katie starts like crying and freaking out when she sees this picture of her because it's of her when she was a kid in front of the house. That burnt down.
And the picture is singed.
Yeah, it's burnt. Like it's her that's like left. The day after this, Katie says she doesn't want to go to class. She was at one point like adamant about like doing her schoolwork, going, like I said earlier, motivated, doing things, put together. Now she's just kind of crying all the time, sad, just unput together, just a hot mess in every sense of the term. She says we should have done this 2 weeks ago about calling the demonologist. And my question is, why didn't they call sooner? And I guess the answer to that is Mika.
Yeah.
And Katie. Well, I guess Mika and the demon. I think
Maybe.
Katie wants the demon gone. I don't think the demon wants the demon gone.
Well, what demon wants to be kicked out?
Right? It's cozy.
Got a cushy gig right now. And his sights on somebody to kill.
Right? Night 18. October 5th. There are lights in the background. Footsteps. Door closes. And this is the segment that I just call terror through the door. So what is it? It's just like the door's just like rattling and pounding and all that stuff, right?
I don't recall it doing that then, but I didn't make a note of it, so.
Terror through the door.
I find it very stupid that the door closes, Mika jumps up, grabs the camera, and then looks under the door.
Yeah. What are you going to see, buddy? You haven't seen anything yet.
You only saw the footprints, like Katie said. He only saw the footprints, or they only saw the footprints, because the demon wanted them to.
Yeah. Mika and Katie go downstairs to investigate the noise that they just heard. And then as they get downstairs, the door to the bedroom slams shut. And then they decide, let's go back upstairs to the bedroom, where all the activity is. It's definitely not sleep on the couches.
I found it funny that when they ran upstairs, Micah like throws the door open and he's like, "You want to F with us?" Like, clearly, dude.
He was a big man, and then at 3:59 a.m., 6 minutes after they left, after the incident starts, the two are holding each other in bed. Katie's crying, and Mika just looks like he's having a bad time. And I'm like, "You are not the hotshot you think you are, sir. Stop." Katie didn't sleep. She's downstairs next morning, awake. She says, "We can't even be in our house." And the point is like, you're the issue, ma'am. It's not the house. Stop forgetting that. Demon starts pulling daytime shenanigans. Noises, stomping around, freaking out Katie. I'm sorry. I skipped over this before the previous night. The demonologist, they called. He's unavailable. He's not coming. So Katie calls Dr. Fredericks, and he's coming over the next day. And then this is that next day. Dr. Fredericks comes over that evening, and he immediately just taps out. He's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't help you guys. This is absolutely too much."
But you forget, before he comes, during all of that daytime activity, that's when the glass shatters in that picture frame.
Yeah.
The picture of the two of them. And Mika's like, "Why am I the only one that's scratched?" And you can see the point of impact is his face. His face,
and then there's 3 claw marks, which just based off of other ghost hunting shows I used to watch, like 3 scratches are like from demons are specifically meant to sit there and taunt the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, and it's a demonic thing. Ghosts
Yeah.
don't do that.
No. So, Dr. Fredericks is absolutely not having any of this. He doesn't want to participate or help them. He's like, yeah, I'll give you guys resources. I'll give you phone numbers. I'll give you people to contact with. I just can't be here. And he absolutely just leaves. He doesn't even make it into the house properly.
Why, having already been there, did he even decide to go back? Like, in what world would someone be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go back to a place I can do nothing for them? Like, really?
Yeah. And they must have told him that it's gotten worse. We need you back here. Dr. Avery's can't come. We need you. Like, I would have said, I don't do demons. Remember that. I explicitly said that the first visit.
However, here's a backup until Dr. Avery's gets here. Here's another person.
Yeah, he should have, because he got the call the day before, he could have at least gotten some resources for them. And, like shuriken threw them at like, as he drove off, but, like, no.
It's just another vehicle to prove to the viewers that you're getting to the peak.
Yes.
Because daytime activity wasn't enough.
Night number 19.
I giggled when I saw the sheets ruffle.
Did you
I
giggle
was like,
because
are you crawling in bed for a snuggle?
Oh. I thought when I saw her foot, it got exposed. I was like, oh, Katie, demon's gonna get you now. Foot's exposed.
Was her foot exposed that time? I thought it was exposed a few nights before, not then. I think her foot was covered then.
Yeah. No, I have it in my notes right here, like number 19.
The sheet blew back to reveal her foot, but her foot wasn't out before. Because that's what I have.
No.
This time the sheet is blown back a bit, revealing Katie's foot.
Yeah, there's a noise and the sheets are pulled to expose Katie's foot.
Yeah.
And so I did also laugh at this scene just because I was like, oh, that demon's going to get you now.
I also laughed because you see her foot twitch ever so slightly. And I'm like, did he just tickle her foot? Okay.
Weird. Demon has a foot fetish. There's a lot of feet in this movie, by the way.
Yes.
I brought that up to my dad.
Did you notice, like, towards the beginning when they're sitting on the couch and he's, like, playing his guitar and she's knitting? She's holding the thread with her feet. Like,
I didn't notice that. No.
The thread is in her toes.
That's freaking hilarious. But he also said, oh, you've got sexy feet.
Yeah.
Like, stop it.
That was back when he was like still talking about extracurriculars with the camera.
Yes.
Also, we glossed over the fact that there was some
shenanigans that happened.
And then he turned the camera back on and said that's illegal in Kentucky and at least 12 other states or something like that.
I don't want to get into it, Sam, because you told me to keep this family appropriate. I wanted to move across that and not talk about it. I
think that him turning the camera back on and saying that was hilarious and makes sense since you said that they didn't have like a traditional script for this movie.
Yeah, no, it's
because I don't
so
think
cringy.
any writer worth their salt would be like, "Hey, you need to say this when you turn the camera back on."
So we are at night 19 still. Her foot's exposed. 3 or 4 a.m. The guest bathroom turns on. The light turns on. And the shadow moves across into the bedroom. And then Katie startles awake, feeling the demon breathing on her. Yeah. And then the next day, everything's fine. More demon shenanigans.
Katie's like, I can feel it watching me.
Yeah. There you go. Katie's now constantly panicking about everything. She's not having a good time anymore. I mean, still, but now it's like apparent, like we're at this point of no return for Katie. You know, she's There really isn't, it's like at this point you just kind of have to wait for Mika to die,
I said, and believe me, I was.
Mika continues to do research on the Ouija board and finds out that document a woman's plight with a demon who had similar incidents as Katie. Her name is Diane.
So that website, you can tell, is a website made in the early 2000s. Picture quality is awful. My question is, did they just take pictures of Reagan from The Exorcist and put it in there? Because,
no,
not the close-up one, but the other ones, it looked very Reagan-esque.
I had in my handwritten notes, I have in big bold letters and highlighted, this is giving Reagan.
Yeah, it was, for sure.
It's giving Pazuzu. And I think that's an on purpose reference.
Probably.
Because in Diane's case, the exorcism didn't help her. It made it worse. And what happened with Reagan?
She was fine. Karis died.
Yeah. See our previous episode that doesn't exist of The Exorcist. No, it
still exists. It was just never released.
No, it's in its Christmas box. I think, but it was really given a lot of Exorcist vibes at that moment, and I really appreciated that. Now, having seen The Exorcist and rewatching Paranormal Activity, I appreciated it now more than I did back then, because it's a good reference to have. When you've got,
did you even pick up that reference when you watched it the first time?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I didn't get the first time around, just because 17 years old and more new to the world than baby deer. All I have is a bunch of notes about Diane, and then he is trying to help Katie, but she blows up at him.
So he pushes Katie to try and talk about the Ouija board more. And she doesn't want to talk about any of it. She wants to study. So all of a sudden, we're back on the kick with our schoolwork being important. And she blows up on him. And then he, being the turd burglar he has been throughout the movie, reminds her in a pretty nasty way that this is all her fault.
Yeah, that was pretty awful of him to say it like that. Come on, dude. You're the one dating her.
And then the day ends with him finding her on the second story landing, pretty close to the picture frame, on the floor, sobbing. And instead of turning the camera off and consoling her, he puts the camera down and consoles her. So I understand that the camera has to be on for us to see what's going on, but it paints Mika in a very crappy light.
It does.
Come on, dude.
It gives those IRL streamers, the ones that people really can't stand because they're out in public all the time with their phones and stuff, and
or the family vloggers.
Yeah, that too. And it's just that's what that moment gave to me, and I don't think that. I mean, that couldn't have been conceptualized when this movie was made, because those things didn't exist.
But it still is very contemporary.
Night 20. It is 4:30. The shadow from previous nights has returned, and Katie's foot gets grabbed, and whatever has grabbed her drags her out of bed and pulls her down the hallway, downstairs, or down the upstairs landing. I don't know.
I think she gets downstairs.
She gets pulled out of the bedroom. We can't see her. Mika gets up.
No, she's drugged down the hall to the guest room, because we have to be able to see what happens the entire time. That's right.
Yeah. Mika moves quickly and brings her back into the bedroom. It's loud and violent. Those are two words that I used to describe this scene, and I haven't used those words to describe any other scene of this movie so far. And this was
The scream is not what completely wakes Micah up, though. Her scream.
No.
It's the door, the bedroom door slamming, is what gets him out of bed.
The door slammed shut. Yeah, so he has to get up, scramble out of bed, and then open the door to try and get her. So it's like every second he needs to try and move as quickly as he can to get her. Where do demons take people when they do this stuff?
To the guest room.
I'm just like, what? Why do demons grab people? Where are you taking me?
Somewhere away from everyone else so they can bite you?
Are we going to McDonald's?
I better be getting me a 20-piece.
I better be getting an M&M flurry. So he pulls her. They're downstairs now after he rescues Katie from the guest room. She's sobbing. She's like on the couch, curled up on her side. He still
But
has
that's
his
the
flash
next day,
camera.
isn't it? Because
I don't
they
know.
ran back to the room and collapsed on the floor.
I have drags her out of bed. Micah moves quickly and brings her back into the bedroom. It was very loud and violent. She wants to go somewhere else, like a hotel. They're downstairs. Katie's on the couch. Micah
That's
asks
the next
to see
day.
her back.
I
I don't have any other notes from this night.
Because the night ends with them collapsed on the floor.
Okay, yeah.
With her
Okay.
understandably, a sobbing mess in his lap.
So she's on the couch. She wants to go to a hotel. I don't have a note of what Mika's doing at this moment, other than cameraing, recording everything as per usual.
That's
Mika
all he's doing
asks,
is recording her.
Yeah. So what's he doing? Oh, he's doing his thing. Mika asks to see her back, and on her back is this ginormous bite mark with like sharp little puncture marks. It looks like someone bit her with a mouthful of needles. Mika packs the car, and then he comes back inside to find Katie sitting on the ground. He still has his camera with him. It's like the dude packed his car with his camera on.
But he didn't, because we don't have any footage of that.
I know. And so he freaking comes back inside to get Katie. So he turns on the camera first before getting Katie, and he gets to her, and he finds her on the ground. She's sitting on the ground, legs out in front of her. She's catatonic, like this. And in her hand is a bloody cross. Where did this cross come from?
Yeah, at least in The Exorcist, they gave you backstory to where the crucifix came from.
Yeah, there's no religious paraphernalia in this house at all. In fact, I would say these two are not religious at all.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a priest at all, nothing. So where did this cross come from? I think that's my biggest burning question right now. Like, where did it come from? But she's holding on to that. He starts a fire in the fireplace, burns the photo and the cross. And he goes to try and pick up Katie to get her to the car because he's like, we're getting out of here. We have to go. And then Katie, with an obvious demon, like altered voice, she says she doesn't want to leave.
You hear her voice and another voice.
Yeah, two voices.
If I'm Mika, at that point, I'm like, done.
Yep. Okay. Well,
I did not sign up for this. Bye.
I'm leaving.
I'm packed.
Yeah.
I'll throw your stuff on the
babe,
lawn. Peace
Babe,
out.
I know I said I packed the car with our stuff, but I really meant it's mine.
It's been real. And it's been fun. But it hasn't really been real fun.
It's been real scary, though. We are on to night 21, because at this point, Mika didn't try and get her to the car.
So the one thing that I thought was eerie was at the very end of that scene where she's in bed and he's finally like at his wit's end with her and he's like, whatever, and leaves the room. That's when you hear the two. When she says, I think we'll be okay now.
Yeah.
With a smile on her face, and she goes back to sleep.
That was definitely like the moment of Katie's gone.
That's like some Children of the Corn vibe stuff, right?
I haven't seen Children of the Corn.
So like evil children scare me.
Yeah.
Just Just gonna say that. They creep me out in movies. And that gave me like creepy child like vibes. I'm like, okay. I guess we're going that direction too.
So we are on the last night. Huh?
I was gonna say, so night 21.
Yeah, night 21. 21 nights of this bollocks. It's 1:30 in the morning. It is October 8th. There's a noise. As usual. Like a bang or something. It's always like a bang somewhere off screen. And then Katie gets up and gets out of bed. And then she gets up and stands on the side of her bed as the blanket is pulled off of Mika. She's not pulling it off of him because, I mean, obviously she's standing on the side of the bed. So
She has been standing there staring at him for almost 2 hours.
Yeah. So it's another one of those Sims moments of, they sped up the footage to try and get through the hours quicker, and then, the blanket gets pulled off, and then she goes over to his side of the bed, stares at him, and then decides to pop downstairs for a quick snack. And then downstairs, she can be heard screaming both of their names. She starts off screaming, Mika, and then she takes a deep breath, and then she goes, Katie!
Oh, I didn't hear the Katie part.
I did. I thought that was weird. I thought that was, like, particularly strange. So I think that was the demon just trying to call for names that it knew.
Or maybe I thought it was Mika that was hollering for her.
Oh, yeah. So the screaming wakes him up. He gets out of bed. He's bolting downstairs. He's like, he's been through nights and nights of this now. So it's like he's a trained professional of getting out of bed this quickly. And he gets downstairs, and then you can hear him screaming, and then his screaming just stops.
Everything stops. There's no sound.
It's dead quiet for a couple of seconds, and then you hear the footsteps coming upstairs. And then there's a scream, and Mika gets thrown right into the camera, and the camera gets tilted on its side, so we're in the same position as Mika on the ground now. And then Katie comes... I'm not going to call her Katie. Demon Katie comes slithering up, with a little feet thing, and then she smiles at the camera, and then attacks the camera. Oh, I'm sorry. She gives Mika a sniff snoof, and then destroys the camera.
Looks at the camera, smiles. Her face changes.
Yeah.
Her face goes demonic as she attacks the camera. And then the movie ends with Mika's body was discovered by police on October 11th, 2006. Katie's whereabouts remain unknown. And that is the end of the theatrical release, which, in my opinion, was the best of the three endings.
The director's ending? Yeah.
The theatrical one, yeah. I did not like the original at all.
Mm-mm.
And while I understand the alternate ending and do like that you see the weapon
used,
it wasn't scary.
No, it was gory for sure.
Yes. I like that the only jump scare that you get, like real jump scare, is Mika's body being thrown at the camera.
Yeah. I don't like movies that have jump scares just because I can't do well with loud sounds or bright lights sometimes, and it affects how I watch things. So the fact that they didn't have any of the typical like modern horror cinema kind of bright lights flashing jump scares, or like even the video games, like I appreciate that a lot. It did successfully scare me without having to blow out my eyeballs.
Right. Which of the three endings was your favorite?
I thought the original was interesting. Only in the fact that it was so much longer than the other two, and that it was very different in that there were people that came into the house afterwards looking for anyone, really. And like,
Yeah.
there's things going on in the house, like people calling the phone and the cops coming in, and then, you know, and that's how you see Katie get ended in that situation, for instance, you know. But I don't like the endings where they kill off Katie, because I guess, spoilers, they wind up continuing the series and she's the main character. Is that the right term?
I like that her whereabouts are unknown, just because possession movies generally end in one of two ways. They're no longer possessed, or they die. So I like that it's different. And yes, it leaves it open for a franchise. That's always a positive.
Well, and not to spoil anything. Sorry if I did already, but
because we didn't spoil the entire movie to this point. I mean, come on.
Fair.
We're not claiming to be spoiler free here.
I was, when I was like poking around with like information and stuff, I found out, I think in the second Paranormal Activity, that Katie was still around in that one. Like, Katie makes an appearance in that one. I think now is the perfect time, since we've wrapped up everything and we've kind of discussed the endings and all of that, and like the sequels. What would you rate this movie at out of Powdered Footprints?
Are we doing like 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5?
No, let's do 10, because 10 is such an easier clock.
Probably like a 6.5. I like the movie, but I don't.
Yeah.
If I never see this movie again, I'm okay. But equally, if I watch this movie, if I have to sit down and watch this movie again, I'm not going to hate it. Mostly because I know Mika dies at the end. So I can get through it.
That's fair.
What about you?
8. Solidly an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
Like I said, I watched this initially in high school. I loved it. My family ruined the ending for me. No one took it. No one wanted to discuss it. Like, there was jokes being made throughout the whole thing. I really enjoy horror, and so I really wanted to watch this because it was so different to like the demon possession kind of trope, enough to the point where I wanted to see it. Where I wanted, like, I don't do found footage movies not most of the time. It's not my bag. But this one really got me. I really, really liked this one. I enjoyed it the second time. I was afraid. I was scared. I enjoyed every minute of it. I did.
I can't wait for us to discuss Hell House LLC and see what your take is on that one.
Yeah, that's another found footage.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite found footage movies at the moment. I like how creepy it is. I already answered, but is this a movie you'd watch again?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I mean, it's probably, if I was one of those people who did like only watching horror movies in October kind of things, I would put it on my Halloween rotation. But I mean, this might just go into like, you know, you ever have those stack of movies you have that are just comfort movies?
Yeah.
That's what this is going to go into. As messed up as that's going to be, it's a comfort movie. It's spooky, it's scary. Sometimes I just need a good scare because I'm that twisted.
13 Ghosts is in that stack for me, so I get it. I have 3 movies that I watch when I'm sick that I'm like, I'm going to put this on. Princess Bride, Ever After, and 13 Ghosts.
What a lineup.
I mean,
I love it. I'm here for it.
I'm all over the board.
All right. Thank you for listening to Nobody and having us along. Now put us back in your pocket where we belong.